A sweet baby ink defender who used to work at Insomniac Games and has admitted to doing everything she possibly can to push the LGBTQ plus agenda is now going to infect CD Projekt Red and their Cyberpunk 2077 and Witcher IPs. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. I wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. And Mary Kenney, the former associate narrative director at Insomniac Games, who is working on Marvel's Wolverine, previously worked on Marvel's Spider-Man 2, announced that she's joined CD Projekt Red. She posted this on LinkedIn. Without further ado, it's time to announce my new job. Today was my first day as a senior writer at CD Projekt Red, best known for the Witcher series and Cyberpunk 2077. I can't wait to talk more about my project. I'm thrilled to be getting back into RPGs, and my team is talented, welcoming, and just flat out cool. Here's a new adventure. This is going to be an utter disaster. This woman is one of the biggest woke ideologues out there who has made it very clear that she is all about pushing woke ideologies. In fact, she said this to Dual Shockers just at the end of May here. She was reacting to a GLAAD report bemoaning the lack of LGBTQ plus characters in video games, describing the report as, quote, heartbreaking. She went on to add this: the GLAAD report tells us something key. Games are a way for LGBTQ people to socialize, but it also tells us something heartbreaking, that LGBTQ gamers don't feel that developers are thinking of them when they design games. And they should not be thinking of them when they design games. That is how it should be, because that is a disordered lifestyle, disordered sexual activity. It is sinful, and video game developers should be focusing on the common good rather than the wants of individuals who are living disordered lifestyles and are actively engaging in sin and want to promote that sin to other people. So they shouldn't be doing that. So that's actually a good thing. If that GLAAD report is accurate, I doubt that it is, because the GLAAD report is all about pushing the narrative that it will never be enough LGBTQ plus agenda in anything that it wants to infect. That's the whole purpose of GLAAD. Just constantly push. There's always more to push. She then added this: there are so many LGBTQ developers, and we want what players want, to design experiences that tell the players we're here, we're important, and we belong. In order to obtain this, she said this: we need to pull every lever we have, characters, community support, mechanics, to make it so. So she has made it very clear that she is an acolyte to the LGBTQ plus agenda and will do everything she possibly can, pull every lever that she has in her toolbox, her belt, to make it so. This is a person who should not be making video games until they repent. This is not what we want in video games. This is disastrous. This is disastrous for CD Projekt Red. You know that the woke agenda is going to be all over whatever video games she is working on. She has made that abundantly clear. Not only has she made it abundantly clear with this, but she's also defended Sweet Baby Inc., who have admitted that their whole goal is to push the woke agenda in video games. And that's specifically what they have said. Their CEO, Kim Belair, has said she doesn't want it to be a veneer of wokeness. She wants it to be true wokeness. But she did this like 12 tweet thread or post thread here to X, attempting to justify and defend Sweet Baby Inc.'s pushing of woke ideology into video games. She began it saying, some of you don't seem to understand how narrative consulting on games works, but don't worry, I do. Yes, this is about Sweet Baby because I've worked with that team and they're one of the finest in the biz. So there you have it. She's defending Sweet Baby Inc. and is claiming that they're one of the finest in the biz when we know this is just simply not true. Their track record speaks for itself. The games that they consult on, many times the developers are ending up shutting down. Or they're losing massive amounts of money. They're laying off employees. Recent examples include Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, where Warner Brothers Discovery, the parent company of Rocksteady that developed that game, took a $200 million impairment charge, indicating that it was a massive loss. It took a $200 million tax write-off, basically, because the game did so poorly in its sales. You can also look at Tales of Kinzera Zao. Surgent Studios, the development company behind that, is now laying off numerous people this month because of its poor sales as well, despite the owner of the company claiming otherwise, or previously claiming otherwise, Abu Bakr Salim. So she went shared this like just absolute like cringe video from this guy, 8-bit closed fist. He just basically gaslights everything. If you want to watch it, you can. He posted this back in March. Again, this was at the height of all the Sweet Baby Inc. backlash in March. But Kenney went on to say, it starts with the dev team has an idea. Maybe they already have an outline of their story and a core gameplay loop. Maybe they've got a whole script and a playable build. Either way, something is missing. Could be any number of things. A character feels underbaked, maybe a whole faction. The backstory of a map has weak sauce world building, and no one on the team has time to do the research and brainstorming to make it cool. Maybe the dev team has gotten a ton of notes from publishers and executives on things that aren't working in the game. Maybe the notes are all internal. The team knows something is wrong, but not how to identify or fix it. Wherever you are in development and wherever the notes are coming from, the problem is the same. Something's wrong, and the team can't figure out how to fix it. That's when you call Sweet Baby. This next part is key because some of you seem really confused. I don't think anyone was confused. I think these people were just gaslighting. I think people were very well aware that Sweet Baby is indeed a consultancy company, but the fact that they hired Sweet Baby Inc. showed that they were trying to push the woke agenda in the first place, because that is exactly what Sweet Baby Inc. says that it does. It's all over their own website. Nevertheless, Mary Kenney would gaslight people into saying this: narrative consultants do not get final say, and they don't override the core dev team and leads. I don't think I saw anyone actually saying this whatsoever. Again, I think this is just a fiction that these people made up in their heads to try and attack their opponents with. It's a straw man, basically. It doesn't get into the game if we don't approve it. And that's the big problem, right? You actively sought out Sweet Baby Inc., a consultancy that clearly states on its website that it is trying to push the woke agenda, and you hired them. That is a clear piece of evidence that your game is going to be woke, because you went out and you hired them specifically to push the woke agenda, which is what they say they do. That was the real complaint that everyone was talking about. They consult, they do research, pitch ideas, give feedback, and maybe even write scripts, but none of that gets into the game unless the core dev team agrees with it. I'm going to keep saying that because it's key. Yes, thank you for confirming that all of these other video game developers that are hiring Sweet Baby Inc. are woke as well. Like, that's what she's doing here. She's just confirming what we clearly, most of us at least, knew, because you just look at all of these big giant game developers. They all have DEI departments. They all have DEI all over their website. They're clearly all bought into this stuff. And that's why they go out and hire Sweet Baby Inc. And then you can see it in the games. The games all have the same kind of similar agenda to it. Nevertheless, she goes on and says, Sweet Baby is not, nor is any consulting group coming into wreck games. It's exactly what they are there to do. They are there to insert woke ideology and wreck games. Kim Belair even says that she wanted to take over the video game industry in an interview a couple years ago. They're helping smooth out plots and deepen characters. That's not what they're doing at all. They don't smooth out plots at all. They don't deepen characters. They're literally there to just push the woke agenda. They ease the burden on the core narrative team. They're additive in every way. That's just, again, she's just constantly lying here now. And if the dev team disagrees with them on something, the dev team doesn't take the note. It really is that simple. So no, Sweet Baby Inc. did not kill your game. Well, you brought them in, so the game was already killed because you were trying to inject the woke agenda into the game by hiring them. So they didn't come in and kill the game. They basically took up the chopped off limbs and lit them on fire. Is basically what Sweet Baby Inc. did. Of course, they had nothing to do with the layoffs. They definitely do have a lot to do with the layoffs, because when your game is infected with the woke agenda, people don't buy it, and so then you can't actually afford to pay your employees. So then you lay people off. They gave notes, pitches, advice, and research. The studio made the final call on what went in the game. If you have beef, it's with us. Keep it with us. No, we're going to also call you out, as well as Sweet Baby Inc. Those things are not mutually exclusive. So all of this, is a giant lie, because we have this from Sweet Baby Inc. CEO Kim Belair. I've kind of alluded to it. She admitted this in 2019, that she and her company were opposed to diversifying a game with a Frenchman and advocated for a person of color character instead. She said this during a presentation at the Game Developers Conference back in 2019. She says, I once worked on a project where they had an all-white cast where they expressed their desire, okay, we need to mix it up a bit. How about this character's like stereotypically French? So they have a beret and they have like a striped shirt. And I was like, okay, if you need to do that, can we at least make them a person of color? And they said, oh, no, that would be weird. They're already French. And then Kim Belair says, so I want to do better than this. So obviously that developer made the right decision, told Sweet Baby to piss off, did not agree with them. But I think this shows exactly what Sweet Baby Inc. is trying to do here. They are trying to push this woke agenda. They are actively trying to change what the developers have in mind when it comes to their original vision for the game, the characters, the setting, etc. In that same presentation, Belair admitted the company does indeed work to censor games through sensitivity reading as well. She said, we need sensitivity readers, we need risk assessment, and these are like, again, important services that I literally like list on every PDF that I send out to be like, hey, I can do risk assessment and sensitivity reading, admitting that is what she does and what Sweet Baby Inc. does. And then here's the silver bullet to Kenny's narrative, is how Belair actually described working with video game developers in that Game Developers Conference presentation. She said, Kim Belair said, if you're creative working at AAA, which I did for many years, she worked at Ubisoft, put this stuff up to your higher ups. And if they don't see the value and what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want. That's right. Kim Belair says that you should terrify the marketing team if you don't get your way, if you don't hire consultants, woke consultants like Sweet Baby Inc. She then went on to admit that she's not actually joking. And she wasn't. If you listen to the delivery, she's not joking. But she says, because they have to consider, I say that out loud as a joke, but she goes on and says it's not a joke. But it's actually very, very true. So again, I say that out loud as a joke, but it's very true. So it's not a joke. Because if you start to consider the people who are player and audience facing, and you have to deal with mitigating harm and with keeping the sentiment around their game and their project positive, there's like a genuine value that you can impress upon them, both ethically and financially. You could say this is important. So clearly she's talking about the social media mobs back in 2019 and threatening these executives, these marketing teams with social media mobs, accusing them of racism and all of these other things that they did back 4 or 5 years ago, basically before Elon Musk took over X, purchased it, and really kind of took the wind out of the sails of a lot of those social media mobs. And it was also pre-COVID. I think a lot of people were done with a lot of the cancel culture stuff post-COVID. You still see some of it now, but it definitely doesn't have as much power, as much sway as what it did before. And we're actually seeing some significant movement in the other direction against this woke ideology, specifically in the courts. There's been a number of lower court rulings against DEI and woke ideology, specifically in the workplace. And then we've also seen companies like Tractor Supply commit to eradicating their DEI departments that were indeed promoting woke ideology. And they're no longer going to be paying to fund pride parades and other degenerate, disgusting things that push woke ideology as well. So there is some good movement on this. But remember, this is 5 years after the fact when Kim Belair was talking about this. So she's actually talking about using these social media Twitter mobs to attack the company and financially harm the video game and the developer. Ironically, what's actually happened is by embracing woke ideology, they've actually harmed themselves, because gamers are just like piecing out, not buying their game. Like I said, I talked about those examples earlier. And then obviously Belair says that she wants to enrich herself, because she says it's also a valid discussion to have because you're working with a thin narrative budget and you work in AAA. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised or dismayed by the amount of money that marketing can give you. So obviously trying to enrich herself by having these developers pay her to come in and wokeify their games, whether or not they accept her advice or not. So she's obviously all about enriching herself as well, and is going to try and use those social media mobs to do that. So just to kind of get back to the point here, Mary Kenney is going to be a disaster for CD Projekt Red. I think all of the games that CD Projekt Red are putting out now are going to come under much more heavy scrutiny. And it does not bode well for that company when you're hiring these ultra woke activists that admit that that's exactly what they are trying to do to the video game industry and to the video games that they work on. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.